Get $3 off every order at PlayAsia by using the code CENSORED.
There are a few reasons why you may not want to be a gamer living in Germany. The sometimes strict censorship of video game violence, for example, is sure to upset those of you who enjoy seeing your enemies exploding to pieces. However, once upon a time, German gamers were faced with something a bit more bizarre when it comes to video game censorship, and I'm talking about the robots. You see, one way that the industry decided to tackle Germany's problem with video game violence was to turn all of the characters into non-human robots instead. Due to this, there are many examples from the 90s and noughties of games having a special German version created that are extremely different to the rest of the world and much more mechanical in nature. Take Soldier of Fortune 2 for example, which is a popular FPS from back in 2002. As you can see from the gameplay, there's no shortage of that red stuff, with you being able to target any of the enemy's body parts and obliterate them to pieces. Back in 2002, Soldier of Fortune's gameplay was groundbreaking, and there was absolutely no chance that it would be allowed to be released in Germany in its original form. And so for the German release, the devs completely changed the game, and not only turned every single human character into a robot, but also replaced the story with a new one, where the game now takes place in a parallel universe where mankind was completely wiped out by machines. The game of course plays and feels very different, with all humans now turned into machines. Also, this means that there's no more of that high-tech violence system, with the robots instead blowing up when defeated. Another game released in Germany with humans turned to robots is CARMAGEDDON, the graphic vehicle combat game from 1997. One big part of the title was the ability to mow down pedestrians during races for points. Over in Germany though, German games turning characters into robots though goes back even further than the 90s, with one of the first cases happening in Contra from way back in 1988. This one however ended up affecting all European regions, and it even led to the title being given a new name, Probotector. As you can see on the cover art, the game is now based around futuristic robots instead. These changes affected all humans in the game, and then went on to also be made to all of the Contra sequels for a whopping 9 years. One of the later games even decided to make the same changes to a wolf-like playable character, showing that this treatment wasn't exclusive to humans. This is similar to Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which made changes to all of its demon enemies, which whilst humanoid looking in nature aren't actually human. Turok does also contain many proper human enemies though, such as human poachers, soldiers and sergeants. Naturally, these were censored in Germany the same, by turning them into some sort of robot. Now there are many more examples of German games with similar sort of changes, but the last for today will be a rather infamous case from 2003's Command & Conquer Generals. The real-time strategy game was actually originally released completely uncensored in Germany and with only a 16+ rating. However, shortly after its release, the game was then indexed by the German government, meaning that it was unable to be sold openly and had to be hidden out of view of children by, for example, hiding it under counters. This would of course heavily affect sales, and so out of nowhere the devs had to create a new version of the game for the German market. Thus, a little while later came a version that had many changes made to it to remove anything that could potentially cause issues. One of the most popular forms of editing being yet again turning all humans into machines. Dozens of art assets had to be altered, and it really gives a different impression than the original. Other changes include the removal of all civilians, changing anthrax to acid, removal of elements that were related to real life, and even a mission being completely cut from the game. There were many other changes made to the German version, and perhaps one day Censored Gaming could make a full in-depth video going into these. Here for example is one of the other ways that Command & Conquer Generals handle human characters, with the bombers on the left being replaced by bombs on wheels. Thankfully for German gamers though, it's now been a long time since this sort of thing has happened, and in fact, the country has actually gotten a lot more relaxed in recent years, with them allowing games like Mortal Kombat X completely uncensored. However, with so many classics from the past being affected, including Valve's Half-Life, which is commonly regarded as one of the most influential games of all time, these are memories that still to this day must unfortunately linger on. Until next time, thank you for watching.